Assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Trinadapi Sunichena Tarar Iva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Nama Eva Kivalam Kalo Nastyeva 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 Gatiranyata Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Before most of you come to this temple on Sunday, there are a few devotees who attend the Tulsi Arti. And during that Tulsi Arti, we sing a song known as Tulsi Kirtan. And there's a line in that song which is translated as, "Please give me the privilege of devotional service." And that is something that I've been meditating upon now for several months. Devotional service, bhakti yoga, is the proper use of the human form of life. So, in that song, privilege, one gets the chance to render service to Krishna, according to Bhagavad Gita, after many, many, many thousands of births. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavamang prapadyate vasudeva sarvam iti samahatma sudurlabha. Because you will only wholeheartedly take up bhakti or devotional service when you are convinced that there is God and that I am His part and parcel, or son or daughter, whichever way you want to look at it, and that I have an eternal forgotten relationship with this Sri Krishna, the speaker of Bhagavad Gita. Only when I'm convinced that yes, then I will take up this bhakti seriously. And it is a privilege. Just like when the temple management invites me every month to come and sit here and speak. That's a privilege, not a right. Privilege. I must see it as such. It's a privilege. And therefore, with that mentality, it goes exactly through the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, that I must always be meek and humble. I must be tolerant, more tolerant than the tree. I must give everyone respect because Krishna is in your heart, even the ant. I can't squash the ant. No. Krishna's in there and have no right to squash the ant. I have no right. That is a living soul, and Krishna's in the heart of the ant. This is ahimsa. This is real ahimsa. Only one who can give life can take life. And I must give, and besides giving respects to others, I cannot be concerned with others respecting me. It's not my concern. People may like me, people may hate me. I shouldn't care. I got nothing. The only thing I care about, what is Krishna thinking of me? Or what Krishna's devotees are thinking of me. But I should not let me get disturbed. In this way, I can easily always perform bhakti, devotion, service to God. That is bhakti. Tangible service to God. Just like a husband and wife. What makes that marriage work? When the wife renders all kinds of services for the husband and the husband renders all kinds of services to the wife. Not one way. It is take and give. That is marriage. Not that the wife says, give me, take. I know a marriage like that. And also the man can't think, oh, the wife is my slave. Make me samosa. Now. No. I am the servant. That is the teaching of Lord Chaitanya. I am the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. As lower as I can go, better. Servant of the servant. So this is a privilege. And I hope I never lose this privilege. Because I love coming here. I love coming here for many reasons. One reason is I am now speaking on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. I don't get much opportunity to speak on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Now this will be the third month in a row. Do I have your blessings? You're a board member, right? Do I have your permission? It's a privilege. So, in the previous 2 months, we studied the first 2 verses of Bhagavatam. Because these first 3 verses are very, very critical. Because the first verse established who is God, who is the absolute truth. And that shloka was given. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. Very first line. Vyasadeva clearly states, we're talking about Krishna right now. That's Bhagavatam. Then the second verse described the stature of Bhagavatam. How it is the postgraduate study of the science of God. Yes, science of God. Not mythology of God. Vyasadeva would not spend his time writing mythology or simply nice stories. No. Vyasadeva, in the first verse, he describes himself, Mahamuni. Muni means very thoughtful person who can think over philosophy and subject matters and come up with a different angle of vision. He is Mahamuni, the great one. And if you go through this Bhagavatam and other Vedic literatures, you will come to realize Bhagavan Rishi. He's not only Mahamuni, but he's the incarnation of God. Literary, there are many kinds of incarnation. Vyasadeva is the literary, he's empowered. empowered to compose, edit, compile our whole Hindu philosophy, beginning with 4 Vedas. You will read in this Bhagavatam. Originally, the Veda was 1. But in the beginning of Kali Yuga, Vyasadeva realized people in Kali Yuga, they're not going to understand it. Let me take this Veda, break it out into 4 divisions. Rik, Sama, Yaja, Atharva. But as we know from Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, Krishna says to Arjuna, the Vedas mostly deal with what? The 3 modes of nature, meaning they're mostly dealing with material energy, the material world. What about those who have transcended or who are interested in transcending? Therefore, the next thing, Upanishads, 108 Upanishads. That's why we have 108 Mala. Also, 108 principal gopis. Gives you some idea how sacred this Mala is. That's why the Mala is given by the spiritual master who chants on the Mala to purify it. Then the disciple is given, and he cherishes that Mala. Gadadhar, do you still have your Mala from Gurudev? Huh? You got this? I know it happens to most of us. Yes. I lost mine after the first year. Traveling around the country, living in vans, distributing books. Ah. Give back, trade. Yes. Jai. So the second verse, so Vyasadeva, 108 Upanishads, which deals with transcendence, beyond the material world, beyond the modes of nature. Vyasadeva was not finished. He compiled 17 Puranas, 3 for people in the mode of darkness. 6. 6 for people in the mode of passion, and 5 for people in the mode of goodness. What is the Puranas? The Puranas is everything that's in Vedas and Upanishads, but in a format that is easily understandable by the common man in the form of historical incidents. Again, not mythology. Historical incidents. By reading those, you will learn everything you need to know from Vedas and Upanishads. Wasn't done then. What about the lower classes? What did he do? Mahabharata. Sri Sudra Dvijabandhunam. These are considered less qualified from the transcendental position. The women, the laborers, and the fallen members of the Brahmanas, those who may have been born in a Brahmin family, but they don't practice. They are called Brahmabandhu. They should have, but because they don't practice, they cannot be called Brahmin. You have to act. And this is what's explained by Krishna in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. He goes through, these are the symptoms of how a Brahma karma, how a Brahmana works. 9 symptoms. Shamodamaktapakshocham shantirajvam evacha jnanam vijnanamastikam brahma karma. This is how a brahmana works. He doesn't say Brahma Janma. Very important point. Whether you're a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, it's based on what are your qualifications. How do you actually work? He gives the symptoms of a Kshatriya, of a Vaishya. Even a Shudra has to have some qualification. So the Mahabharata is written for Stri Sudra Dvijabandhanam, considered from the spiritual platform to be lower. But by reading the Mahabharata, the main target, the whole program is that if they go through it, they'll find something called Bhagavad Gita. The whole Mahabharata of Vyasadeva is tricking the reader. Come on, let's go with that. Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the beginning of transcendental knowledge. Why? What's the first thing Krishna tells Arjuna? You're not your body, your spirit soul. There you go. There's the first lesson of transcendental knowledge. If a religion is not beginning with that understanding, then that was discussed last month. Cheating or materialistic religion. And last month, the second verse was already clearly stated. Any kind of materialistic or cheating religion is stopped at the door of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Because Bhagavatam is only going to talk about devotional service. It's going to talk about God, His devotees, and how they interface. That's devotional service. The soul interfacing with God. Because God is a person. Okay? Now we come to verse number 3. But before I do that, some of you might have noticed, why did he say 17 Puranas? Because the last Purana, because after doing all these Vedic texts, Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, Mahabharata, Vyasadeva was not satisfied at heart. Just like sometimes you might go to somebody's house and you may be invited to eat, but when you get home, you ask your wife, can you make something little? Because you weren't fully satisfied. Maybe they didn't make this your favorite, whatever. So before going, can you make vada, something? So Vyasadeva, after writing all these Vedic scriptures, was not satisfied at heart. And he couldn't understand why. Then his guru came, Narada. And Narada said, here is the solution. Bhagavatam. Talk about Krishna. Talk about Krishna's devotees. Describe everything about pure devotional service. So that was the last work of Vyasadeva. I forgot one thing. He also wrote the Vedanta Sutra. But Vedanta Sutra is very technical. Anyone here who is a computer geek, if you look at computer code, if I try to read computer code, it makes no sense. But to the computer geek, he knows exactly. Oh, this program does this. Everything nowadays is done by computer programs. But somebody has to write that. It doesn't write itself. Somebody has to program every little step. This happens now, this happens, then this happens. If this happens, it's all written out in codes. And the computer geek knows the code. So the same way, Vedanta Sutra is written in code. And unless you are a Sanskrit scholar, unless you have read The Upanishads, the Vedanta Sutra, impossible. You won't get beyond maybe 3 or 4 verses. You'll be lost. Because the Vedanta Sutra opens up with the word therefore. What? Therefore? Did I miss something? Where's the first? Yeah, in other words, Vyasadeva is assuming you've done your homework. Now let's pick it up. So then Bhagavatam was the last literary epic, and Bhagavatam is considered the topmost, the highest. Vedas are compared, well, that's coming up and I won't spoil it, but that leads you. Are you ready to proceed for verse number 3? Do I have your attention? All right. Please repeat. Nigama kalpataror Galitang phalam Shukamukad Amrita drava Sangyutam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasam Alayam Muhur Aho Rasika Bhuvi Bavuka. I love this verse. Please repeat, please. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Shukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. There's a lot in this verse. When you preach, you always look for key words that give you lots of facility to talk about. This verse has got so many. It's chock full. It's got so many. Just like sometimes there's a sabji and it's just got 2,000 pieces of paneer in it. You know that's my favorite. I'll take that one. And so you take a few peas, but mostly paneer. So the first word, please repeat, nigama. So nigama means all the Vedic literatures given to us by Vyasadeva, and you can include Ramayana by Valmiki, because Ramayana and Mahabharata are considered fifth Veda. So take all the Vedic literatures. Then the next word, please repeat. Kalpataro, desire tree. Now the desire tree is not available at Walmart. The desire tree is available in spiritual world. But there is this desire tree of Vedic literatures. So this is important. Please take advantage of your Hindu scriptures. I'm not Hindu, and I'm taking advantage of your scriptures. Your scriptures, which came not from China, they may be printed there, but they don't come from, where do they come from? Bharatavarsha. Vyasadeva resides in Bharatavarsha. And in his next life, he becomes one of the Sapta Rishis. That's explained in the Bhagavatam. He becomes one of the 7 sages, Rishis. Hare Krishna. Haribol. So the desire tree, that's available in Krishna's abode. What is a desire tree? Oh, tree, give me mango. Mango is there. No. I want orange. Whatever you want from the desire tree, it gives you. Can you imagine if we had one here? Huh? You would be the most sought after person and you could charge money. Hey, we could build our temple real fast. We could have everybody come in. All right, $100. And then, yes. Actually, we could ask the desire tree, please manifest the new temple. Done. Now we should all want to go back to the kingdom of God. Huh? These trees are there. So the Vedas, the Vedic literatures, they are a desire tree, meaning any knowledge you want, material or spiritual, is there in our Vedic Hindu scriptures. Anything. Just like there is one Shastra, Vimana Shastra, flying. They knew about that. It's not that, that they discovered this airplane. No. And you know from Mahabharata, right? And from Ramayana, how Ravan had, whose chariot did Ravan have? He had one of the demigods' chariots. And he was going all over with that chariot. Huh? Was it Indra's chariot? Indra. So, and also there is a Veda with weapons. You know from Mahabharata, Arjuna had so many amazing weapons. Some were given by his father Indra. I think also Lord Shiva gave him some weapon. He had special weapons. And when they spent that last year incognito in Virat, they took all those weapons and hid them in a tree. Right? And then when it was time, they got the weapons, they used that weapons and won the battle of Kurukshetra. So all kinds of knowledge, material and transcendental, is there in the Vedas. And depending on, just like the desire tree, if you ask for cucumber, that's on you. You get what you ask for. So the Vedic scriptures are also like that. What do you want? What branch of, what are you interested in? These Vedic literatures can give you. Prabhupada writes in the beginning, in his introduction, he says, Bhagavatam deals with everything. Psychology, sociology, sexology. Everything is here in Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam has helped me in so many ways. Practical. Because there's so much practical, not just transcendental, but there's also practical knowledge is here, even in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Now the next word, please repeat. Galitam. Fully matured, and the next word, phalam. You all know that word. Patram pushpam, fruit. And what's the best fruit? Come on, you guys know this. Mango. When I first went to India in 1975 in June, the devotees told me, oh, mango season. I had never had a mango in my whole life till I got to Vrindavan. And then every day, bushels and bushels of mangoes. So this Bhagavatam is not just the mango, it's the fully ripened mango. What does that mean? It's what? Sweet. Right? The green mango you use for the pickle. Right? But the sweet, sweet, ripened mango, so nice. So this Bhagavatam is the fully matured fruit of this desire tree known as Vedas. That's why I was saying it's the highest. Bhagavatam is the fully ripened fruit from this tree of knowledge. Fully ripened. Now, it says, we continue. Shuka Mukhat. The Bhagavatam was taught to Shukadev by his father Vyasadeva. Originally, the Bhagavatam, 4 verses. You will read that in the 2nd canto, chapter 9. Brahma is born. He doesn't know where he came from. He doesn't have a father or mother. He's surrounded by darkness. He doesn't know how to accomplish what's in his heart. He meditates. Narayan comes to him and speaks 4 verses. Those 4 verses are called Chatushloki. From those 4 verses, Brahma taught them to his son Narada. And he told Narada, you expand on this. And I just told you how Narada came to Vyasadeva and told him, you compile Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So now we have, from original 4 verses, 18,000. Prabhupada says, in the heavenly planets, the Bhagavatam is even bigger. Thousands and thousands of verses. We can barely handle 18,000 on the planet Earth. Trust me, there's enough in Bhagavatam to keep you busy your whole life. So, there is this thing. When the parrot picks at the ripened mango, it becomes more sweet, if that's possible. Shri Shri Radha Raman Bhagavan Ki. Actually, that's very good, because now I know I got 15 minutes to wrap it up. It's good. It's a good program. That bell's like, oh, pay attention. So, how did this Bhagavatam become sweet? Well, Shukadeva Goswami, who was in the womb of his mother for 12 years, didn't want to come out. Why? Because in the womb, he was already self-realized, Atmaram. And his father was speaking, come out, come out. Shukadeva said, why? I'm already self-realized, why I got to come out? I'm perfectly Atmaram here in the womb. Vyasadeva goes to Dwaraka and begs Krishna, please, my son doesn't want to come out. 12 years, can you imagine? 10 months was enough, wasn't it, for your child? 9, 10 months? Can you imagine 12 years? You can imagine? I can't even imagine. What, those, you think it was different? Really? Okay, if you say so. But actually, Diti, the mother of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, she held those twins in her womb for 100 years. Yeah. So, Krishna came to the cottage on the request of Vyasadeva, and Krishna spoke to Shukadeva in the womb and said, Shukadeva, come on, your father you can come out. You're not going to fall into illusion, I promise you. So on Krishna's word, Shukadeva decided to come out of the womb. When he came out, he went, oh, householders, I'm out of here. So he comes out of the womb after 12 years, but he sees that his father and mother, they're householders. Nah, I'm renounced, I'm sannyasi. He starts walking away. Vyasadeva is calling after, my son, come. So what does Shukadeva do? He creates a duplicate. Yes, it's in the Bhagavatam. He creates a duplicate. That duplicate goes back with Vyasadeva. He gets married and has a family. And the original Shukadeva goes out, travels, and realizes the Bhagavatam and appears at the end of the 1st canto when somebody was cursed by a young Brahmin boy. Who was that? Yeah. Come on, you guys haven't studied Bhagavatam? Everybody knows Maharaj Parikshit was cursed to die within how many days? 7 days. So as he's about to begin, Shukadev appears, and in second canto is when Shukadev begins his instructions. So the idea is, Bhagavatam was already sweet, but the way Shukadev spoke it, it became even more sweet. Especially what canto? 10th, thank you. Yes, the 10th, because that's what it's all building up for. The whole first 9 cantos is like building, setting you up. And then 10th canto, Janma Karma Chame Divyam. That verse in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, if you understand my birth and activities truthfully, factually, then what happens? You don't have to come back and take birth in Placentia or India. Where do you go? His abode. You don't come back. That's the benefit of understanding Krishna's birth and activities in truth, tattvataha, not according to your imagination. No, you study it scientifically. So where will you get that? 10th canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. But it takes 9 cantos to fully understand who and what is Krishna. Not that Krishna means black. That's it. That's Krishna. It means black. Really? No. 9 cantos. And what is described in those 9 cantos? So many avatars of Krishna. So many devotees of Krishna. Right? There's the story of Matsya and Kurma and Varaha and Nrsimha and Vamana and Parashuram. And even Ram is in there. 9th canto has Ram. And there's Balaram, Buddha, and Kalki. Those are just the 10 Dash avatars. But there's so many other avatars. Hamsa avatar, Mohini in the 8th canto. So many different avatars are explained in the first 9 cantos. And all kinds of devotees are explained, because Bhagavatam is just not God, it's God and devotees. So there's the story of Narada tells his story of his self-realization. Then there's the story of Vidura and Maitreya, and the story of Uddhava, and the story of Dhruv, and the story of Lord Shiva and Sati, and Sati's father Daksha, the Daksha Yajna, where Daksha gets the head of a goat. Then the 5th canto, there's the story of Bharat, how he became what? A deer. And then after the 3rd time success, he makes it. And in 6th canto, there's the story of Ajamila. And there's the story of Chitraketu being cursed by Durga Mata. Actually, it was Parvati, but it's the same, not any different. Sati, no, but it's Parvati. It was Parvati. But it's the same. Yes. Different name, but same energy, same personality. 6th canto also talks about Vitrasura. And 5th canto also has a chapter, the final chapter of the 5th canto, Hell. Yeah, it's real, y'all. Very descriptive. 28 different kinds of hell. If you read that final chapter, Shukadev gives you a guided tour. You want to go to hell? Okay, do this. And if you do this, you go here. Some people think, no, it's not a story. It's not an allegory. It's real. And you don't want to go there. I know when I read that, I go, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. I get real serious if I read that final chapter of 5th canto. It scares the hell out of you. Yeah. That's the idea. It scares the hell out of you. After all, what is Krishna? Krishna just says in Bhagavad Gita, there are 3 gates leading to hell. What are they? Kam, Krodh, Lobh. Right. Lust. Very good. Who said that? You? Excellent. Jai, you took Connie's place as today's authority. Very good. So, lust, anger, but Krishna doesn't go into a detail. That's in Bhagavatam. One whole chapter. Description of hellish planets. Then in the 7th cantos, there's the conversation of Narada and Yudhishthir after seeing how Krishna killed Shishupal with the Sudarshan Chakra, and the Atma of Shishupal, like a meteor, entered the body of Krishna, and Yudhishthir said, can you explain that? And Narada, in the whole 7th canto, talks about how Shishupal was originally Jai Vijay, then became Hiranyakashipu and his brother Hiranyaksha, and then Ravan, Kumbhakarn, then Shishupal and Dantavakra. And that whole 7th canto in the first 10 chapters is all about Nrsimha avatar. 10 chapters talking about how Hiranyakashipu became the most powerful man in the universe. The 8th canto talks about Gajendra Mokshan. That's very popular in South India. The deliverance of Gajendra. And the 8th canto has the story of the churning of the ocean of milk to get the elixir of immortality. And in that story, history, you got it, good. History, you have several avatars. You have Ajita, another name for Narayan. Kurma avatar appears. And then Mohini Murti appears. She's actually Vishnu. Figure that one out. Because you'll read, who is the consort of Mohini Murti? Lakshmi. Because actually she's Vishnu, Narayan. But she temporarily manifested that form, which Lord Shiva requested. He came with Uma, another name, right? Another name for Durga Mata. Lord Shiva came and said, I heard about this Mohini Murti. I want to see it. And Lord Vishnu said, are you sure? Because he's right there in front of his wife. And he's like warning him, you really want? And Lord Shiva said, I want to see. And Lord Shiva is chasing after Mohini Murti. And he gets defeated. But he's happy to be defeated. He's happy. At the end of the whole thing, Lord Shiva is very happy. And he says, yes, I'm very happy to be defeated by you, my Lord. Then also in the 8th canto, the largest section, is the narration of the Vamana avatar. Then in 9th canto is very interesting. So many different little incidences. The theme of the 9th canto is liberation. And at the end of the 9th canto, the final chapter, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna's ancestry is given. Krishna's whole ancestry is given up to the point of Vasudeva and Devaki. And then in the 10th canto, it begins with the story of Krishna. I don't know how I got on that, but that's what happens about Bhagavatam. You get inspiration. And just by remembering those incidents, you get so much transcendental pleasure. So this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literature. Now, I mentioned that the fruit is picked on by a parrot. Who's the speaker? Shukadev. Shuka means parrot. But he's not a parrot in the sense that he repeats. Like I know somebody, she has about 20 parrots in her house. Her husband has built her an addition to the house, and she has 20 different kinds of parrots. And she's taught them how to chant Hare Krishna. So you can teach a parrot and it'll say, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And even at 1 o'clock in the morning when you're trying to sleep, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. But that's not why he's Shukadeva Goswami. Not that he just repeated what his father taught him. No. He's Shukadeva because he took something which was already sweet and made it more sweet. Just like Gujaratis, you know, ras. Right? And what do you put on the ras to make it better? Ghee, my favorite. Ghee. Okay? Am I right? Not oil. Ghee. So, it says here, this fruit has become even more tasteful. Now, Bhagavatam is relishable even for liberated souls, which Shukadeva himself proves. And there's a verse later on that Shukadeva was already liberated, but even he wanted to penetrate Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam because Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is even relishable for the liberated souls. It's not that when you become liberated, now my business is done. No. Bhagavatam is for even liberated souls. What to speak of us? There are several verses in the Bhagavatam which explains the Bhagavatam is good for those who want to be liberated. That would be us, unless you're already liberated. Please excuse me. But it's relishable for us who want to be liberated, and it's also relishable for those who are already. Meaning, when you become liberated, there's even more to penetrate. Like Prabhupada used to say, right now we are doing spiritual activities, devotional activities, but this is practice. The real thing is when we reach the spiritual world. This is a training period, practice, like athletes. Like this is the football season. So all during the week, they practice, they train, they practice. Then Sunday comes, the game. So what we're doing here is practice. That's what it's called, sadhana. Sadhana means practice. But once you achieve perfection and you reach the spiritual world, now you really begin to chant. Like you all like Gadadhar singing, right? No? Well, let him know. So, when he is in the spiritual world, his singing will be unlimitedly better. Because we are all practicing, but once we are there, then all of whatever we're doing for Krishna will be so much unlimitedly better. Anyway, I have to stop here. I could go for another hour, but I'll see you next month. Can I come back next month? It's okay? So let's all chant the Mahamantra one time. And for those who came later in the beginning, I talked about how this is a privilege. So I want to thank the temple management for allowing me this privilege, and I beg, with straw in my teeth, I beg you to allow me to come month after month. I'm begging for that privilege. Yes. Thank you. May Krishna bless you all, protect you, and maintain you. Hare Krishna.